Sophia, I am so excited today. I would like for you to meet Mrs. Allie Brown, my mentor and coach. Allie is the world's most recognized coach for women entrepreneurs.
How did you even get started into coaching, also specifically women?
It's interesting because I was a coach before it was cool, before people even really knew what it was. It is such more a personal journey for us in that success often reveals to ourselves who we are. And in that journey is where we learn to trust ourselves. And that is my favorite part of the coaching is when I'm working with women. And it is important to remember that nothing's permanent and you will end up wherever you need to be.
Get ready for the next iteration of you on your path to becoming wealthy. On this show, you'll get the insider's view on wealth creation, the class none of us got taught in school, with my co-host, daughter, and beginning investor, Sophia Bosch. And now, let's get started.
Welcome to the Becoming Wealthy podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Bosch, my co-host,
Sophia Bosch.
And Sophia, I am so excited today because I have a very good friend and mentor of many years here with us today. I would say that she's probably responsible for a lot of the ladies even that we have met during our time doing this podcast together, because I was able to meet them through her. And so I would like for you to meet Mrs. Allie Brown, my mentor and coach. Allie is the world's most recognized coach for women entrepreneurs. She's the host of the acclaimed Glenvision radio show. She's founder of The Trust. And The Trust is a new and premier network for female entrepreneurs, doing anywhere between 7 and 8 figures in their businesses. She's also been ranked within the top Inc. 500, list of companies, privately owned companies. She has been named, Forbes Women to Watch. She is an Ernst & Young's Winning Women Entrepreneurs. She was been featured on the ABC hit primetime show Secret Millionaire. And as you know, she has been my mentor and friend of many years. So with that, Allie, thank you so much for being here. Welcome.
Great to be here. And Sophia, I can't believe you look like 27. So I don't know. Whatever you're feeding that girl, it's awesome. She looks amazing. She's sprouted up, healthy, looks amazing. So haven't seen you in so long.
I know. It's been
Both of you, actually.
Yeah, it's been a little bit. I think Sophia may have been, I don't know, maybe like 8 or 9 when, I first came into your world through that Reignite. I think it was an event that you had out here in Scottsdale. And I remember
It was maybe either Repower or
Repower. That's exactly it.
that was the very first small workshop I did after kind of walking away from the big business model. And I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, it was a fantastic opportunity for me to just be in a group full of incredibly successful women and realize that I had that everything that I was admiring in them, that was in me as well. And that, you were one of those first people that could see it also with me and help me kind of like let that, come out and bloom and shine and kind of like step into that personal power that I think I was missing. So with that, Sophia, I want to kick it over to you because I know you have questions for Allie. And so take it away.
Okay, so obviously, as you just said, you coached my mom for many years and also many amazing women. But how did you even get started into coaching people and also specifically women? Like, let's do a little story time. Like, how did that all start?
Yeah. It's interesting because I was a coach before it was cool, before people even really knew what it was. And in this podcast, I'm going to give the kind of shorter version. There was a lot to it, but in my 20s, so I grew up very traditionally. Like my dad actually ran a business with his grandfather. They were in contracting and like they did some like big gates for homes and mansions. And I didn't really know what he did, but I knew he came home exhausted. His career probably was what finally killed him with a heart attack, when he was 65. And, but that was down the road. But like growing up, I didn't have a really great role model for business. I'd never considered being an entrepreneur. So in my 20s, I just did the track, that you're just supposed to do, go to a good college and get a good job. And I just kind of felt not fitting in. And I was bouncing around from job to job and just kept finding somewhere that I would fit in. And then made a leap to working for myself when I realized that it was a possibility. And what was changing everything was, what I'm about to say makes me sound so old. It was the internet.
It sounds like we're at the cusp of a similar movement with AI, right? Like,
We're going to be one day, they're going to be like AI. And so it was wild because suddenly, though, you could work from anywhere. Suddenly you could work from home. It changed the landscape of the industry I was in, which was in marketing, publishing, advertising, right? So I loved writing copy. I loved marketing. And when I saw there was an opportunity to just go freelance, they called it. It's a nice segue to kind of, having your own business is just working these gigs for marketing companies and ad agencies. And I knocked on doors in New York City. I literally just brought my portfolio in and said, this is what I can do. And if you walked into any agency at that time too and said, I can help you with websites, they were like, wow. I mean, they thought it was this magical skill, and it's a lot of the same skills, but if you had familiarity, I walked into one agency and got literally pulled into a meeting like on the spot. And they're like, well, can you help us with this? I'm like, sure. So it was such an exciting time. And what I started doing to promote my services is I started a little email newsletter. So I was, if I met people or these agencies or people I was meeting at a breakfast group or thing, I would just get their email and ask permission, say, hey, I give out these marketing tips every week. Can I put you on this list? Now, back then, remember, I mean, now you don't want to get on anyone's list now. There's just so much stuff out there. Like for you to get on someone's list now, it's a big decision. Back then, they're like, sure. Wow. And this is how I started this email list, which then grew into what I realized was a platform. And what happened, and this leads in kind of into how I started working with women, kind of accidentally, but I found that it was more women, maybe because they related to me more. I was meeting more women, were asking me, "How are you doing this email newsletter?" And you seem to be taking off with your little business here. Show us more of what you do. And that's when I discovered ebooks, and I literally bought an ebook on how to sell ebooks online, and started making money selling an ebook on how to publish email newsletters. Like, this sounds funny, but like I just followed the trail, right? I just followed, they're asking for this. I know something about this, not everything maybe. I'm not this super expert, but I can share what I know and I can share what I've done. And that's how it all started. And then it led to coaching when after building several information products, and I was doing teleseminars at the time, which was a big group line, no video. And just teaching any way that I could teach. My first class had 3 people on it, and one of them hung up, I remember, because you could hear it. You heard the and when women started saying, okay, well, can I just work with you? Can you just show me how to do this? Can you spend some time with me? That's what turned into coaching. And it was a bit more advisory then, but over the years, what had happened, and this was during like creating the bigger programs and bigger workshops, and just I was excited to share whatever anyone wanted to know and what they wanted to learn. For women, it's a different game. For women, and this was in my limited observation at the time, but this is now everywhere and talked about, and there's studies done and all this, it is such more a personal journey for us in that success often reveals to ourselves who we are.
yeah.
And in that journey is where we learn to trust ourselves. And that is my favorite part of the coaching, is when I'm working with women. And I would really truly call myself one of the few coaches still out there, and where I'm going to hold the space for your growth. I'm going to hold the space for you becoming a leader. And yes, I'll give business advice and strategy where you need it, refer you out to other people where, maybe you want to do a deep dive, but we are working on you stepping into that next version of you. And that to me is like, that's what keeps me going. That's what lights me up, and what I particularly love about working with women.
Yes, yes, I have to agree. In that last section, I remember, having ideas about a new program that we wanted to start, and me constantly second guessing myself and doubting, is this even a good idea? And sometimes there's something good about having a partner and a spouse that you can, bounce
Yeah.
things off. But it's also for us ladies super important to have this outside perspective that
Yes.
can either validate number one, or say or two, say, well, there are some a little bit of holes here in your plans, and somebody that can objectively look at those and tell you. And so and at the same time kind of like fuels your fire for where, if it's just a few things that need to be looked at, once those T's are crossed, that this person basically, like Ali just said, is holding space for you and is fueling that fire, and is making you go, and it's holding you up to a standard that is much higher than the one that you have right now for yourself. And so I I'm a I drank the Kool-Aid on coaching, as you know.
You were great to work with. I miss talking with you, and you were going through a lot of transitions then too. And I remember, and a lot of decisions, and and I loved all our conversations.
Yeah, the same. It was I think 2 or 3 years of Premiere, several years of the Trust, and I can't wait for that, summer one that is coming up right now. I know you have an event coming up, and I'm looking forward to join you there. Um I also wanted to ask a question specifically, Ali, because you now worked with women from all walks of life. You
Okay,
right
yeah.
now
That's a little actually what I was gonna ask. Like, do you work with women specifically in like a certain industry? Like, or is it all across the board?
Yeah. Um, Typically, I attract mostly women with service-based businesses,
Okay.
and then typically, like about, the 7 figures and higher, typically. I do work sometimes I do have men ask, "Do you coach men?" I said, "I will," especially if you dropped, someone good looking at my door, I probably sure. But I will say my jam totally is coaching women, because again, it's a different game. Men are easier to coach, by the way, though, and that's a whole other show. I think they're more, get it done, plow forward. The women stop and we explore, and kind of explore things a little more. There's more self-discovery. But yeah, I've worked with women in all kinds of industries, and that kind of translates into the women who are in the trust right now as well, our community, because we have everyone from women with biotech company, healthcare. We have a woman from the Amish community. So it's very broad, but everyone brings these brilliant ideas and comes together, which solves a problem, because a lot of us get into an industry as well, and it becomes very myopic. We're surrounded by uh, people in our own industry. We go to events with people who are in our own industry. Typically, it's a slippery slope, but you can find yourself there. And the danger is then you're not bringing in any new innovation.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's no cross pollination. I remember um, sitting in events where somebody in a completely different industry, like ACs and HVAC. Actually we had Mrs. Brown, Sarah Brown, also
Oh,
here on the show, and I remember her talking about this incredible killer like referral program,
Yes.
and just that one idea, in the first, I would say, maybe 30 minutes of that event, was able to produce for us, quite a bit of hundreds of thousands of dollars, just from implementing an idea that was being executed at an incredibly high level in a completely different industry than the one that we were doing it. And so I totally agree with you. There's incredible value from just seeing what others are doing in other industries, and how can you apply that, to yourself.
That's a great example. Yeah, the HVAC company. What are they doing for referrals? It was freaking brilliant. She went through it step by step and laid it out, and everyone was taking notes.
Yeah, absolutely. We all were. Um, uh, Ali, if Sophia, right now, Sophia is exploring, many opportunities, many career possibilities. She knows she wants to major something in business related, but she doesn't exactly quite know where she'll land. She loves art as well. I mean, there's so many.
or like I'm more creative, but I'm a little strange in the fact that I'm not fully like right brained or left brained. I love all the creativeness of like painting and art, but I'm also very numbers and like math oriented. So I'm like thinking, do I do marketing, which is more creative, finance, which is a little bit more structured? Like it's still up
For discussion. Yeah, you got to find your way, but mainly my question to you, because it doesn't matter where you land, um there is something that you have seen now across the years that have enabled, I think, all of these women that we were talking about to grow into leadership positions. And so what are some of those ingredients that you see them all having, or things that they have done to grow into the respective leadership, and thought leadership that they each have in their industries?
Yeah. Well, Sophia, too, I want to remind you to have fun. Follow your heart when you get to that place, and you're going to be over. This girl's already overqualified for like most jobs out there. I'm sure she's like amazing in everything she does. Right. So that's a great place to be, though, because you'll find kind of, you know, I know at the jobs that where I was at, it was interesting because the leadership question, I never said I wanna be a leader, but it kinda just started happening, and I'm thinking through, like, how did it happen? Even at my jobs, at the companies, even though I was not happy there, somehow I ended up, like, leading a committee or going into the boss's office and suggesting, "Hey, the clients are asking for this. Why don't we start offering this thing?" And I'm, like, 25, right? But I just was connecting the dots in my mind and bringing what I did know, and I don't know where I kind of got the, bravado to do that, but I just saw it as, being of service, And so I think bringing new ideas to the table, um, not being afraid to have conversations with people that are levels above you, and looking back, as well, the one thing that I kind of did without realizing, but I hear leadership experts talk about, and this is important for women, is positioning yourself as ready for leadership. And so, an example I'm going to give that is mentioned sometimes is like, if you're in a meeting in a boardroom and you're all peers, don't always be the woman volunteering to take notes, right? Because it's perceived sometimes then as you're not the leader then of the room, right? If you're always the note taker or the coffee getter or whatever. And just little things like that, you may want to think about, how can I be more visible as a leader doing leadery things, like taking on a project, offering to have a conversation with a client, bringing something the client said to your boss, bringing new ideas to the company that can save time. I mean, as a boss myself and someone who has been leading a team, I can't tell you how I love when someone comes to me saying, "I know we have a challenge with this, and I have like a few ideas what we can do." I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, thank you," because I'm waking up at 2 a.m. thinking of this.
Yeah.
And I would rather have more of that than be the one to have all that pressure on me. So seeing the things in front of you, and even things you think may be common sense, sometimes no one else is seeing it. And then you bring it to the table and they're like, "Wow, this is amazing."
Yeah, absolutely. Basically, Ali is talking about it at the essence of the core different perspectives, in that different perspective, creating value creation, as an idea with a solution, to a problem, that, your future boss might be having. Now, Ali, as a business owner out there, with we were talking about how the internet was the thing when you're starting, out, your career.
AI.
Exactly. Now it's AI. So, I mean, what are you doing right now to help, the women, that you're leading, or what are you seeing them doing when it comes to AI, to help them basically capitalize on all these changes? Because I mean, it's disrupting many people's models, some models becoming obsolete, but with that also the opportunity for innovation and for new things to to come up. So what are you seeing there?
Yeah. Well, first of all, what an amazing and scary tool at the same time, right? I mean, it's saving us, it's saving me just almost a few hours a day now in some tasks and marketing and like producing content and just frameworks and things. It shortcuts my brain in ways, and it's incredible. And I know it's and at the what's funny, I'm really polite to it too because I'm just worried one day it will take over.
No, me too. Me too. I say thank you.
So do you say please and thank you?
Yeah, so one day when it harvests our energy, it'll put us in the nice pods. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. You gotta be nice.
I'll have like a really nice pod where it's like sucking my life's force out of me. But in the meantime, so what am I teaching? Well, in the trust, for example, we're having a lot of conversations around using AI and all that. But on the flip side, where do we retain our personal value, right? As humans, and it's something my client Kiri Marie calls, human intelligence versus artificial intelligence. What are the things that only we can bring to the table? And I think even extended to my children, when I look at my kids, the twins are 11 now. So they've got a little ways before college, but I'm starting to think even what are things that's a lot can happen in that time. What's going to happen to the landscape of work and employment and business and everything? So with them, and this is my choice, I'm focusing more on human skills with them, people skills, things that you can't plug into a computer and make happen, right? And we'll all see where it goes and all that. But I just think the biggest thing you can do right now is use AI as the amazing tool as it is. And then just don't forget your humanness and be as human as you can right now because client relationships, friendships, reaching out to peace people personally, all of that going forward is going to be even more important. It can be replicated, but not really duplicated. Or is that did I say that right? AI will try to copy that, but you're gonna really feel the difference going forward in real human connection.
Yeah, yeah. And Ali, even the way people buy these days, is being disrupted by AI. There's an incredible deterioration of trust in the marketplace, when because people are being using, are using AI for cold calling, and all of a sudden, and it's starting to sound very human like.
Oh, it's scary.
It's
Actually, yesterday we just had a speaker in school talk about a little bit about misinformation and disinformation, and she used like AI generated pictures, and she asked the audience to see which pictures are AI generated and which ones
Yeah.
are not.
Like spot the fake.
Spot the fake. And
Yes.
so it was 6 pictures, 3 of them were well, later we realized 3 of them were real, of real people, so of, like, faces, and 3 of them were fake. Every single one of the fake ones we thought were real, and everything one of the real ones we thought were fake.
yes. So there's this an
It's scary.
yeah, there's this incredible deterioration. So I think when you have that, I think even it is even more important for this human connection and the skills of that Ali right now was talking about, to be for you to really master those, and to not just master them where you feel comfortable, but there's certain levels of wealth in the future that I feel that even today already they're about excellence, and excellence, especially in these income skills. I really truly believe they will become the new income skills of the future, if you see them like that, versus I feel like for some time it's been like, okay, the programmers, the coders, when it comes to technology, or
The lawyers, the
doctors, exactly, and so on and so forth. And now I really feel it's like it's creativity, creatives, and people that can really connect, at a human level, and that can influence. And I don't mean influencers like that, people that have a lot of followers on social media, but people that actually make others move, take an action, make it a new decision. That kind of level of influence. I think if you have the income skill, the skills to do that, your income is going to grow no matter what.
That's a great way to put it.
How I see it.
Yeah.
But still, right now, for example, we are even like looking at all our business processes inside our 3 lines of business and looking at, okay, what are some things that we can retain with a human, and what are some repetitive tasks that are being done right now where we can bring in AI to help us, to the point of even accounting. On the accounting side, there are certain things that I think still a human will need, in order to analyze certain things. But even there, trends and patterns and
That
you
you know,
feed financial statements to AI, it's gonna be able to help you underwrite, opportunities and deals much better, I think, than a human would, and so on and so forth. So we're looking at where are some places where we can bring, not just generative AI for content creation, but actually in the processes of the business of conducting business.
and the thing is with that though, it's just gonna keep getting better. It's just gonna the AI, like the softwares, everything are just gonna keep getting more and more advanced. So if you can figure out a way to also foresee that,
Yeah. And keep that balance that Ali is talking about. Yeah. So interesting to know that a lot of the ladies are basically right now, thinking about that you coach, thinking about, yes, let's use it. It's saving me a lot of, brain damage and hours of work, but let's retain what cannot be duplicated and make sure that relationships, especially in a time where there's a deterioration of trust because of misinformation or disinformation, that we are able to create those connections with people, because at the end of the day, people buy from people that they know, like, and trust,
Yeah.
and that they know they're real. This person is actually a warm body.
oh my god.
That is not going to take my money and kind of like evaporate in cyberspace.
No, but I've seen the transition just this year. Because it's AI has been a tool that's existed for I think like 5-ish
Yeah.
years now.
But incredible massive adoption. Yeah.
Has happened within
The last two.
last two, if not I've seen the most in the past year. And I see now, like, my school has to put in policies against AI and all of that stuff.
But
They had to literally rewrite a whole section in like the handbook
Yeah.
and have everyone else re-sign it because it's a big significant part now of schooling and people using it to like shortcut certain things.
my son won't listen to this, but I already caught my son using. He got in some type of trouble. I didn't know all the details, but like he and his friends did a group project and they used it, and the teacher, I don't know how the teacher caught on. Maybe it was a little too obvious. It was a little sophisticated, the writing. Um, but yeah, I'm like, Bubs, you can't do that. Like,
So let me know. Are the twins back in traditional school? I know we're homeschooling them for some time.
How was that transition, by the way?
Back into
it was easy. It was easier than I thought. I've been blessed with amazing kids. I don't know why I deserve them. They're unbelievable, and they've always been very social and kind of adaptable. I think travel's helped that. I think just having me around a lot has helped that. And their dad's very social and traveled too. And they split their time between us now. And so a few things. We homeschooled for. That was my decision. It was when COVID hit and the world was getting weird and the schools weren't schools anymore. The way they were treating the kids and the way they were learning. I'm like, no, no, no. Let's just, what a great age to do this when they were like, 6 to 9 years old, because they still are exploring the world and things are fun. And I'm thinking we could have so much fun with this. And it was amazing. We got to travel more. We were doing a lot of things out in nature. I got really involved and I had a great college girl helping us, with some of the stuff I didn't want to do with them, like math. Things like I want to do the fun stuff, the creative. And then we got to a point that we just kind of knew. I knew we would know when we would know. And I think they were ready and we were ready. And I say the transition, the hard part was my kids love to move around a lot, and then sitting in a classroom all day and realizing they have like one recess and all that. And we talk about that a lot too, but they segued really, really well. We had to catch up in like one or two areas, and we were kind of on grade level, but they were starting to move really quickly. And I'm like, all right, we need to, get you guys up to speed on a few things, but it wasn't hard. So they're having a blast. They're both very social and love school. They don't love all the work that comes with it, but they do love it. But I encourage anyone, if you have the time or opportunity, that was a magical time with my children. And I think really helped shape who they are. And I would just encourage anyone to do it. Even if you do it, in the most basic way, I think just being that such a center of influence in your kids' lives set them up for success in my mind, to like them being around me more and seeing me work at home, and that, we were part of each other's lives a lot more. And I kind of missed that. I kind of hinted, I'm like, if you guys ever want to do that again, I don't know how I'd do it, but we'd figure it out. And Jordan's on board only because he thinks I won't make him do the work, I think, but I don't know. We'll see. He's a bit more the lazy one. It's funny. He continually asks me if he really needs to work when he's an adult. I said, yes, you do. Like you're not going to be living here. Let's make this clear now. He asks all the time. And I'm like, do you not see me like work? Am I not instilling a good work ethic? I don't know. He keeps questioning, and then he sees things online and he's like, maybe I could do like drop shipping. I'm like, we could explore drop shipping business. Okay. So he'll be the entrepreneur, I think, for sure. Maddie, I don't know. She's a super creative. She's a little spacey. She keeps up with her grades though. I tell you, I'm impressed. But yeah, I don't know what she'll do. It's gonna be really fun watching them develop and kind of where they land eventually.
Let me tell you, some of my friends do drop ship, so.
Well, Teddy, like he's got his little business hat on.
Yeah, and as the child perspective, then I was also homeschooled for half a year when I was 9 years old. So I see that perspective, and I think that really helped. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the family dynamic, one, like seeing them constantly working, like being almost immersed in their world, just as much as they were in my world. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it all worked together, right?
See together, absolutely.
Yeah.
What are some of the life lessons that you are teaching or modeling for Maddie and Jordan right now, Allie?
Yeah. Well, I probably could, I'm very inspired by watching you on the show with Sophia, because I'm thinking, my gosh, I could be involving them. They already helped me with the business, but like not in an immersive way like that, with like content and thinking things through. And so I think there's a lot more opportunity there. But um, I will say we have a lot of discussion now, more that they understand about like what things cost, and what does it take to go on this trip. Okay, I want you to see, like, here, let's book the hotel room and let's do this. Okay, we're signing up for camp, and I want them to see what that costs. I want them to start understanding things like that.
Yeah.
And I do think it's made a difference too in what they ask for. It's interesting because they know we know from travel too, that helps them see that, like, we're very blessed, here in most of our problems are what we call Scottsdale problems, right? Like that, there's some people who can't eat today, so I think it's so important to continually give your kids that perspective, because I think a lot of, we all live in a very, wealthy area for the most part right here. And but there is disparity, and for the kids to kind of see that is important for them to see that. Okay. And, here's what we can do to help. We do a lot of things through our church and things like that give them more awareness, which I think is really helpful. So I think, at age 11, giving them an awareness of the full scope of people's situations in the world, but letting them know that, like, this is within your possibility. Like, what you can create is totally within your possibility. So, have empathy, but like know when you're moving forward and making these decisions, you can create the result that you want in your life. I'll show them.
Absolutely. Any money rules? Are they on an allowance for any chores around the house, and any money rules that you're?
Not really. I'm kind of like, I probably should get into that. It's funny. Like I give them a little money each week. Like if they're going to somewhere with their friends or something, help them like, here you go. But I think, come fall, middle school, we're going to have a whole new game. I think it's time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, because I know they never gave me an allowance.
We're like, you're part of this family. You're emptying the dishwasher. You're putting clothes away.
We're not gonna buy it.
See, this part of the room and board.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Right. Well, I'm glad to hear because I thought you were going to say you had some elaborate system for Sophia to earn points and get money, or I don't know. I don't know what I expected. Expected something even more.
We started seeing that her concert going was getting out of hand. We got her into actually start doing land deals, and she's closed a deal where she's getting $500 every month, because she closed it, she sold it using seller financing.
Right.
And so somebody put money down, which she used to pay the seller, and now her $506 every month are coming into her bank account.
37 cents.
And 37 cents.
How young do you think you could learn about flipping land? How young?
I mean, I've been around it my whole life.
But
But
I started with 15. I would say in the fall of when she turned 15, we started, and in April of last year, she closed her first deal.
I'd say though it depends on the person.
Yeah.
Or I think it's very doable at like 15, 16, just because you have that awareness of other of I guess the world and how the economy.
There are some challenges to overcome. When talking to sellers, like, honey, you sound young. And then Sophia's like, oh yeah, I sound young, but this is a family business, and we've been in business for the last 20 years, and so on. And so kind of like that,
Like,
we have
push it back a little.
we had to basically kind of like coach her on how to overcome that objection, of sounding young on the phone and so on and so forth. But
I feel like it was good though because I gained a lot of confidence in just myself and my abilities. Many people think real estate is something just for the adults or just like it's grown up problems or whatever, like in order to get into it. But as uh like a teenager getting into that, it was kind of fun to see that I am able and it's within my capabilities.
her little legs shaking. Oh my God, needed to like dial. I was to call all the alarm. Silent for dollars. But at the what? It's kind of like what Ali says, even in the grown up women that she's coaching, that a lot of us really find our our confidence by doing the thing.
Yeah.
Right? By doing it, by the success, kind of like that, we were able to find our personal power. And so you got a little taste of that, I think.
Yeah.
Getting that. So it's not, I think if you wait until the twins are probably at the tail end of middle school, I think they would be ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Or at least we could start doing it something together as a family, like a project. Right.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Because my parents kind of even though they set me up with a coach, they're like, Sophia, even though we're in the house, we're not going to be your coach. Like you got to learn from someone else other than your family.
That's smart. Yeah. Then you'll listen even more probably.
Yeah, it kept me accountable.
We were scared that was gonna pull one of Jordan's where you say he wants to homeschool because he thinks you're not gonna hold.
Yeah, that's true. I did that. I did have my phase. Yeah, of that. So and just no, that's normal.
Yeah, absolutely, that's normal. Getting back on the subject of money, what are you investing these days? Are you investing in Bitcoin?
Bitcoin, that's funny. I'm not a Bitcoin person. I'm not averse to it, but I never really got on board to understand enough. And I don't invest in anything that I don't fully understand and feel like it's a great thing at the time. So I'm pretty people may surprise people. I take big risks with my business, but I'm pretty a low risk with a lot of my investing in what I do.
That makes complete sense. Every single, I would say, individual has a different risk profile, and not every investment is right for everyone. So that's something that, yeah, as you can.
But I do a few cool things. I'm an investor in one of your properties. You guys, you know that. You remember that, right? I mean, but my name should be on something. Okay. My name's on one of your buildings. I'm on one of your buildings.
Part owner.
But yeah, so I do some interesting stuff, but nothing like that would, people are like, wow, that's interesting. Most of it's kind of boring. My business has been just my best place that I've put my money back into it. And then being just smart with everything else, not doing anything crazy. I think you need an area to go kind of crazy in and get risky in, and then you got to balance that. That's always been my thing.
Yeah. Talking about, your business being the area where, you've put in a lot of creative risk, and that's kind of like your career. Um, I see the women that you coach, and all of them are doing things very unconventionally. They're being very successful in very unconventional ways. Um, all of them trailblazers in their own right. Perhaps could you speak to Sophia a little bit about kind of like settling into being okay with that, with being unconventional?
Mm. Well, I mean, what's your other choice, right? I mean, when you look at your choices, in a company, typically, you're going to blend in, right? And some people, look, employment is for a lot of people in the world. There's something, and there are days that sometimes I'm like, you know, those hard days as a business owner, and then you see someone some cushy job, and I'm like, hmm, you know, and and but the excitement and fulfillment I've always had by waking up and deciding what I'm doing that day and how I'm going to impact others, how I'm going to make money on my own, what am I going to invent that day? That's when you don't care anymore about fitting in. And the more you kind of unplug from the matrix, it's not even on your radar anymore. It's kind of funny. Um, when you're in those worlds, a lot of things are on you, kind of what people think of you, or am I fitting into the model, or like no one does it that way, or you can't do that. And that'll happen, by the way, even when you start a business, because you're surrounded by people in your industry and you start doing things differently and they're like, whoa. And in the beginning, you probably follow the recipe. It's why I always tell people, look, when you're starting a business or you're doing a launch or whatever, for the first time, learn from someone who's done it. Don't go for the recipe. Don't add mushrooms. Don't mess with it. Like, just follow the recipe, right? Like, do it. And then you're going to start getting excited to make a change. And I'm going to change this. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And then you just kind of stop caring. Like, you are doing your own thing and you're creating your own category. You're creating that category of one where the benefit of that also is that you're literally incomparable to anyone else. And your market will see that, the audience will see that, but you will also feel that. And then you stop comparing yourself to others, which for me was the biggest breakthrough.
Liberation. It's so liberating just hearing you say it, that is a
Yeah.
breakthrough, especially, and I think, you are a generation that is growing on social media, that is growing with AI, where there is a whole lot of that going on. It's important to sometimes, march to your own beat and be okay with that, even though sometimes stand alone, we look like the crazies.
Before, I miss the time where, let me just rephrase that. I am grateful I started my business before social media because I had no one to compare myself to. And I would just wake up and go try to run my business and knock on doors and walk in places. And I didn't worry if I was doing it right. I didn't worry if I was following a certain method. I just figured it out. Then I found mentors and it got easier for sure. But I started out of the gate doing my own thing. And I think that always served me well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so too. I I could agree with you. And I think everyone that either has mentored with you or that is part of the trust network, that's one of the things that we admire about you, and that you serve as a mirror for all of us to remind us, that it's okay that we're sometimes the oddballs in our industries,
Always.
yeah, and categories of one, and therefore incomparable, and sometimes
Yeah.
we wonder. A category of one means that uh, there's no other competitor, because no one is like you. So it's like you define that category,
Yeah.
and no one else fits in there because you're just so unique. Yeah. So yeah. So Allie, to wrap things up, what would you say to a woman that is starting out right now, that wants to become an entrepreneur, that is exploring entrepreneurship, like Sophia is, or just a career in general? What would you
Oh, yeah. I mean, the choices now are endless.
Yeah.
Yeah, the choices now are endless, and I think that almost makes it harder, right? Because just like Sophia was saying, and especially, and let's all be, clear that we know we're smart, we've worked hard, we have a lot to offer the world, right? And Sophia does, and that's going to make it sometimes harder though to know, where should I go? I could do this, I could do this, I can do this. And in my experience, just motion begets motion. So, just do something and you will feel course corrected along the way, or you'll get a clue, or something will work, but something doesn't work. So you go in the direction of the thing that works, and just find your way. I would not put pressure on yourself. I would go make money, have fun. You'll kind of see where it lays out. And I didn't fully get into what I am doing today until like my barely in my 30s, right? Really my 40s where really all came together. My 20s, I was teaching step aerobics, selling vitamins off my bicycle, and working at a publishing company all at one time. I was obviously in search of happiness and trying things on, but those were some of the best times. Like I have the best, I want to get like emotional. Like those were some of the best times I remember of like really learning to trust myself. And that journey never ends. It's just a bigger and bigger game. So I'm so excited for you, Sophia.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ali, for that. And
Was
because
this
that is so important, especially, in days like yesterday, she came home, she's like, I'm like,
Oh yeah,
okay,
yesterday was a
okay, but I don't know if it's overwhelm or if it's what is going on. And I'm like, Sophia, back up. Look at all the things that you do. None of that
Yeah.
urgent. Everything can be put down right now, and let's focus on, on reminding ourselves what's real. College applications, and whether such and such a university are going to accept me. That's that's nothing. There are certain things that you have in your control, but there's some others that are not. So let's put that down. You have right now what it takes to get in a really good school. So put that worry away. Don't worry about that. Let's give it to one of the little worry dolls. I have like a little, oh yeah, bookcase with 8 worry dolls. I'm like, let's give that to one little worry doll. Any other worry that you have? And so we started, putting everything down, because I think we forget that these are the years that also nothing has to be exactly planned out. That these are the years where you are supposed to take risks, where you're supposed to try things on, like Ali is saying, and find your way and flow with that and find your way. No,
I mean, Michelle, that's kind of how you and Jack kind of started that way, didn't you? Though you were, trying this in real estate and trying that. I mean, that's what got you to where you are today. It wasn't a straight trajectory, and it may be interesting for Sophie to take that in that, because she's just witnessed this skyrocketing business, and you guys are just, full on, and it's here's the path, and I know she probably sees a little of the craziness behind the scene, but yeah, knowing how it started, it's so important for people to know how things started. And, I didn't tell that part of my story for so long because I'm thinking, oh, that's going to be boring for them. They started asking for it again. I had a woman come up to me in the event. She said, do you ever talk about the ATM story anymore? And I said, no, my gosh, it was a moment in my life where I couldn't take out a $20 bill because I didn't have the money in there in my 20s. During this time, I was starting that business. And she said, don't ever stop telling that story. She's like, because it gave me hope. And it is important to remember that nothing's permanent, and you will end up wherever you need to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Ali, if anyone wants to learn more about the work that you do with, with women, with the events coming up, for the trust, where can they hear more about it?
Yeah, at jointhetrust.org or allybrown.com. And I'm on Instagram, and I love Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. I don't like it, but I am. Stuff happens on LinkedIn, so it's good to be on there. That's so boring. LinkedIn's weird. LinkedIn's weird, but I'm on there.
I mean, I have a profile there and I follow a few people, but it's yeah, it's the user experience is definitely
It's kind of weird. It's like a big party where like no one wants to be there, but they have to be there, and everyone's it's funny. But I am on there, and I will write you back if you want to write me and see what we're. We have we have a summer mastermind coming up in June in Newport Beach, and we have a fall event coming up in Tucson, and then I coach privately one-on-one. So reach out.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Ali, for being here with us today and, just pouring into Sophia.
I think I needed to hear that last part
Aw,
for
aw,
sure.
you're awesome. Hey, Sophia, if your overcheating parents drive you crazy, just call me. We'll talk, okay?
Sounds like a plan. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ali. You are first class, and that's it. She will take your call. She will even take ZZ pet. Yes. Thank you so much, Ali. For and for everyone listening, thank you for joining us in today's episode. I hope this was valuable. Please leave us a 5-star rating. You can share with a woman in your life. And we are excited to come into your world on the next episode of Becoming Wealthy. Thank you so much.